Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Tatter-a-fact here at the Girlz Ink Studio in Las Vegas. And today I have a Girlz Ink artist joining us, Ren Taylor. Welcome, Ren.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hey, Taryn.
Yeah. First time on the podcast?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, happy to have you. A little nervous?
A little bit. I've never been in front of a camera before.
No?
No. And you'll even see on my Instagram, like I barely even have any pictures of me. I'm strictly, here's my art, here's how I do my brows, but don't look at my face.
Why? You're cute as hell.
Thanks.
Do you have issues with like some people look in the mirror and they don't see realistically what's looking back at them? They don't see something attractive. I know we're getting heavy. We're jumping into this.
We're jumping right into this. It's going to be a very good podcast
Yeah,
today.
but you're an open and transparent person.
Yeah.
So is that it? Because I think this is the first time I've heard you say that you really don't like to be on camera. Is it because you don't like what you look like? I guess that's what I'm telling you. Insecure about what you look like?
Not too much insecurity. I'm just more of a very introverted person.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of artists will struggle with this as well once they kind of get more into showing their portfolio, getting a little bit bigger online, getting bigger clientele. It's really hard having that boundary of, you walk into a grocery store, somebody might know who you are, and you're in your jacket and sweatpants. You don't have that full face that I do every day. That personality isn't there because I'm not clocked in,
Yeah. Happens to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was at the grocery store not too long ago and I hear, "Oh, that's my eyebrow lady." I was at Trader Joe's. Yeah. And I'm like, oh God. One time we were in Dillard's. And I saw my client, and I go ducking behind the rack of clothes. And what is it? We don't want, I had this talk with Mary Richardson, that's why she wears the bun. When she's always in a bun. So her clients always see her in a bun. So when she goes out shopping, she takes the bun down and you barely recognize her. Yeah. But she says it's great camouflage. So there's something about us artists that we really we don't want to be recognized. We don't want to run into clients when we're out on our personal time.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe because we've just worked a really hard week and, we want our weekends to be our weekends. So you don't want to have, I get it. I totally get it. But I'm glad you wanted to do the podcast today. I think we have a lot of really interesting things to talk about. So you've been doing PMU for 5 years, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
5 years.
Right.
It's been a hell of a journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's been the most hellish part of your journey?
I think the really awkward transition into being a contractor on my own at 19 years old.
Okay.
And I basically matured becoming an artist.
So you became a PMU artist right out of high school?
Right out of high school.
So that's super young.
Yeah.
Yeah, super young.
I was more of a weird kid in high school. I was always an artist. I always had a pencil to paper. And even before I even knew that the permanent makeup industry existed, I would be drawing eyebrows on the corner of my papers every time I'd be doing notes. And I didn't even know it. I was doing microblading strokes or I was doing something. But I always really had art in my heart. And when I got out of high school, I didn't have too much socialization. I was always really shy with my first couple instructors that I had, and they probably hated me just because I was in the back and I didn't really ask too much, but I retained.
Yeah.
And I really had my character development with this industry and getting my clients and starting to meet people. And now I've actually gotten out of my awkward phase.
Yeah.
But, the journey of that was really weird.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it. I think for me a little bit, maybe not to the level it was for you, because before I became a PMU artist, I was a cocktail waitress on the Strip.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I was for many years, and that you develop your people skills, your social skills, and you're dealing with lots of people every hour, for Pete's sake, personalities and whatnot. So I think that prepared me to be comfortable with clients right out of the gate in my PMU career. But so how did a high school student get turned on to PMU? How did you discover PMU at such a young age and know that you wanted to do it?
Well, I discovered permanent makeup in 2016. I believe that was the first year that I ever knew that it was really a thing. Because I knew that, there was the old 80s style tattoo shops, like kind of where the McDonald's arch is.
Yeah.
And I've seen plenty of women like that, but I didn't really recognize it was as much of a craft as it actually is until I was about a sophomore in high school. And I gladly found it as a craft and not before the era around 2018, 2019, where it started being advertised as make six figures your first year,
The multi-marketing kind of.
It's almost like it got
scheming.
treated as an MLM now.
Yeah. A lot of people are saying that. And a lot of people are really angry about that.
I am too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, I think the best advice I can give, like a young artist like yourself, there's going to be lots of things that upset you and anger you, and because you are an artist and you fall in love with the craft, you consider it a craft, you become protective of it.
Right.
Many of us, we didn't get into this for the money. I don't think you got into it because, you want to make a living, of course, doing something you love. Right. And with your God-given skills, which is art, design, creativity. I was very much like that as well from childhood. But you certainly don't get into it with six figures in your mind, or that you're going to get rich quick, or any of that crap. You get into it just like, this looks like fun. I think I could do this the rest of my life and be happy. And and I hope I can make some money at it. I hope I can at least pay my bills and make a living at it. And if I can, I'm going to be so happy, right? But nowadays, like you said, it's being marketed as a six-figure income, the lure, the carrot, right, to get people to come take these trainings.
I think it's absolutely hilarious. You see some of these trainers and, just no offense, a lot of these people are incredibly talented and they are crafters themselves.
Right.
But it's funny when you see some of their stuff and then you swipe to the next thing on their Instagram carousels, and then it's like a chart. And it says, if you take 3 clients, you can make this, or, that should be the last thing that you have to worry about for the first 5 years.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. 100%. So you got into PMU right out of high school and did an apprenticeship. And because here in Vegas, you have to do a 6-month apprenticeship.
I actually did a 12-month.
You did a 12-month.
I was originally doing 6 months, but I got to be honest, I started getting a little in over my head in perfectionist mode. And right before I was about to take my first client, I kind of backed out a little bit. I said, I think I'm going to practice a little bit more.
Yeah. So you got in your head a little bit.
And, I actually think that was probably the best thing.
Yeah.
Because I had 2 really bad trainings, the first 2 certificates that I got, and I self-taught myself just about everything. And then so I did about 8 months of self-teaching myself, just on latex. And there's so much free education, on YouTube or Instagram. Right. And once you start getting that eye and start understanding everything, it all just really starts clicking to you. And so I started practicing with iron and carbon and just seeing the different ways how to implant. And then I took my first client. And then when I started, gaining a little bit of clientele, word of mouth, free work, eventually I saved up and got a really good training. And that training just completely saved me.
Yeah. Well, I think every decision you've made thus far has been the right decision, because look at you now. Maybe there's a lot of people listening that don't know who you are yet, but this, after listening to you, they're going to get a little curious and they'll go check out your Instagram, and then they're going to see who you are, who Ren Taylor is. And in my opinion, Ren, you're one of the best ombre artists out there by far in the industry.
Thank you.
Yes, no, 100%. And I'm not just saying that.
Thanks.
I've told you that before. I don't know if I've quite worded it like that, but I've told you you're really talented. I think during your interview, before people come for interviews, You know, Kat and I get on their Instagrams. We really watch. I want to see how, not just if their work is good, which yours was really good. It really impressed me. And so I wanted to interview you. And, but I also want to see how their other posts, how are they posting? How are they engaging? Are they nice? Are they kind? Are they, you know, I want a full picture. It's one thing to have someone talented, but I also want someone really talented, nice, cool, generous, you know, that certain vibe that I'm looking for and that fits in here, you know, at Girlz Ink. So I think every decision you've made thus far has been the right one, because here you are.
Girlz Ink was my best decision.
Girlz Ink was your best decision.
Yeah.
So you've been at Girlz Ink for a few months. So before Girlz Ink, you were an artist. You were on your own, well on your way. You were doing really beautiful ombre brows. It's not like you started doing really good ombre brows when you got to Girlz Ink. You were already doing really good, pretty ombre brows. That's why I brought you on as an artist here. Right. You were an independent contractor paying rent. So all your client money was your client money. You were not on commission.
Right.
I was very upfront with you. You'll be on commission.
Yeah.
So I thought it was interesting. I thought, you know, you might, you know, walk away from that because you're already independent. So what, and I've never asked you this. You know, I'm certainly not going to ask,
in front of 10,000 people.
Yeah.
You're asking now.
Right. So why would you make the decision to leave an independent position and come to a studio where there's other artists and talented artists where you were going to be put on commission?
Right. So, transparency time. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. So, to break it down, first off, I was by myself in a 10 by 13 almost. I was there for roughly about 2.5 to 3 years, and I learned a lot, but I would come in, take my clients, and I would leave. The girl next to me is a lash tech. The girl down the way is a hairstylist. Then we have nail techs. The first aspect of it is that it was really lonely.
Okay.
And, you know, with my headache clients and the things that were a little bit more on the crazier side, you know.
Your pain in the ass clients.
Yeah. Yeah. They were pain in the ass clients.
We all have them.
Yeah. Whenever I had any issues, I didn't really have anybody to bounce on except for the permanent makeup Facebook groups, which are just, you know, wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
they can be.
They can be really insightful, but, you know, I feel like there's just a really weird shift lately with those, even a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But,
yep.
You know, when you kind of go through it on your own and you're not really in an environment where, you know, there's other women or men, because there's really good male artists too who do ombre brows or just any form of permanent makeup, and you don't really have that environment where, you know, we're all in this together, it can get really hard.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to the commission part, I had a really hard time having the guts to raise my prices.
Yeah, your prices were really low.
They were
like you were charging, was it $250 or $300?
$250 for virgin and $350 for correction.
And here we're like $550, $500, $550.
Right.
Which is not even considered like the high end of pricing. I think it's medium high. Yeah. Right? Which reflects our skill level here, I think, you know. So
taking over 1,000 clients already. I've had over 1,000 appointments. So whether that be initial or touch up or removals or, you know, just about anything, and I still had that price point, and I took the chance and I signed on to here, and immediately, you know, getting to a better price point, I think I've gotten such a better demographic of clientele. They're a lot more respectful. They're a lot more patient. They don't have unrealistic expectations.
Yeah.
And also, I just really love being at the shop, and I've been able to find, you know, kind of more of a really good community, and something that probably isn't too big of a deal, but it really was for me, is that I am around tomboy women. And I've always
Are you
had
talking
that in
about
me.
me, Ren?
It's, I feel like all of us have that a little bit, hyper feminine salons were really hard for me.
You know what, or I know what you mean, like really super feminine or real medical, sterile, spa-like. Yeah, that's not my jam either.
Yeah.
And a lot of my friends, my really good colleagues, that's what their studios look like. They're either super femme
And they're
or
beautiful.
yeah, and they're
but-
beautiful, and it's them, or it's super spa-like, like white and spa-like, or very medical
Yeah.
feeling, and that's them, and it suits them. But me, I always kind of looked at, I always wanted my studio and the way I kind of vibed to be more tattooy, little rock and roll, little
Yeah.
edgy, but ultimate professionalism, ultimate skill, the professionalism at its highest, combining that with the look of more traditional tattooing and
Right.
a little edgy look and rock and roll.
Yeah.
That's more my vibe.
Me too.
Yeah.
It was really funny because, and I don't know if I've ever shown you pictures, but the old place that I used to have, so I had the Tatzel hydraulic pink chair in my room. That was my bed, the non-electric
Okay.
one. And I had my tattoo artist. I want to give a shout out to Mateo Coria. He's a really good artist here in Vegas. He did graffiti on my wall for my entire logo, and I painted my walls black. It was a very like you're saying, kind of like a rock and roll. You walk in, but once you get out of that room, it's just such a weird, different environment.
Yeah.
And I did feel a little bit like a sore thumb, getting treated like a sore thumb a little bit too, and it was just hard dealing with that. And I always encourage anybody to get more into a community with artists, even if you're not working with them like right aside each other, you're not next door neighbors, but you have to find your community. I remember right before I signed the contract, because it took me 2 weeks to really think about it, and then I emailed you guys.
It's a big commitment, and I want everybody to really, really think about it, because once you sign on the dotted line a contract, you're in that contract for that amount of time, right? And so you're committing yourself. So it's a big deal. And I don't make, and I don't pretend it's not. I think even during my interviews, I tell them, really think about this.
Yeah.
Because, once you sign this, you're a part of Girlz Ink for this amount of time.
And I was getting a haircut. It was right before Thanksgiving, and I was telling my hairstylist about it. And I said, I just have this really big opportunity, but I don't know. And she said, it's not any different in ownership to you. And she encouraged me by saying, the best way to describe it is that being a sole contractor is where an artist goes to die. That's a big term. And so she was telling me that, and I asked her what she meant. And she said, just all creativity just goes out the window. You don't really have more of a team. You're alone. You have a team. You're not learning any of the new techniques. You're not learning anything new, or nobody's giving their input with you, or, constructive criticism. It's just, you hit a plateau.
Yeah.
And I really did feel like I hit a plateau for about a good year because, back in 2022, I didn't take any trainings, and I was training other people. I've taught about 50 people last year, but I hit kind of a plateau creatively myself, and I felt bored.
Right. Well, now you're a part of like a collective, and what I think is, I think now you're in a good position, Ren, to where not only will you be inspired, but now you're in a position to also inspire.
Right.
Because we have apprentices, right? I mean, we have 6-month apprentices. Couple, Felicia and Ari and Trish, and a couple of them are going into their 3rd month, and now you're sitting back there. I see you get them on latex and showing them this and showing them that, and you're giving them tips. And I think
so good.
that is equally as important for growth, to evolve as an artist, to be able to inspire, newbies and young artists as it is to be inspired. I think you're in a great place now, for now, where you are in your career for now. I think this will, you'll end up looking, no matter how long you stay here, the term of the contract or longer, your time here, I think you'll end up looking back at it as a great experience.
Yeah.
And you'll take that with you for the rest of your career and your life. That's how I want Girlz Ink to be for artists. I love artists.
Yeah.
And paying it forward and inspiring and being inspired. Even now, 22 years in my career, I crave to be inspired. I want to be inspired by others, and having young artists like yourself inspire me, and I get to be inspiring at the same time. So it's a beautiful give and take. I think. So, yeah, so you had to do a little thinking. 2 years is the right place for me. I'm not sure. And I was a little unsure about you too, because you were a little quirky. Well, not about your talent. I'm like, okay, this girl is talented, but I think me and Kat, okay, she's a little weird, a little awkward, a little, don't get offended.
Oh, I was sweating bullets
you
walking
were
into that
sweating
interview.
and you were fidgety.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, what is this girl on? Is she on something? Is she just like socially awkward? Like, what is going on with it? And I think during the interview, I even asked you, are you okay?
Yeah. It was so funny because you were literally in the middle of your sentence, and then you just looked right at me and was like, hey, how you doing back there?
Yeah, like, are you okay? You looked uncomfortable. You know what you looked like? You looked like you had to go pee or something.
Yeah.
And like you were fidgeting and like you wanted to like get up and leave, but you didn't. And
oh, honey, I felt like I had to pee like 10 times before it, but every time I tried it, I couldn't. It was just one of those things. But you know what? I've had a couple of fun experiences with other artists in this industry, or, people I've done business with before. And I kind of just was in a spot around the time that you guys were thinking of putting me on the team, where I felt like anybody in the industry being kind to me wasn't genuinely being kind.
So you got guarded.
I got guarded a little bit. I was a little scared. I didn't know which decision was the right decision. I didn't know what was going to be too good to be true. And so I just kind of sat in and I just kind of observed and just looked around, see if I could see myself fitting in it.
And did you have a good feeling about me? Had you heard
absolutely
good things about me, or had you what made you? Because I know you were guarded, and I think you're still a little guarded. I see that.
Not too much anymore.
Not too much. I was going to say I see that starting to come down, but it took you a while, Ren.
Took me a good amount of while, but you guys are practically family at this point.
Oh, that's awesome. But why me? Why Girlz Ink? Why did you decide to jump in? Because we're not going to get into your backstory on why you're guarded. I know it.
Right.
You know, you were very honest with me about why, and I am sorry that happened to you, and I told you that would never happen to you here or with me.
Right.
Not ever, not now, not never.
Yeah.
And in time, you will see that with me. But you didn't know that during the interview. So what? Right? Did you just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna like take a leap of faith, or did you figure, well, she must be okay? I mean, people like her.
Yeah. I have been watching you, Amy, and Michonne all since I was 16, around the time that I discovered permanent makeup.
Okay.
It was a mix of starstruck, and then also she's kind of a celebrity to me. I don't know if I want to meet my celebrity and then get that image of who I think she is and
like
kind
all
of modify
skewed.
that.
Yeah.
And so, but it was a big leap of faith for me. There was something when I walked in, because I've come in here so many times to buy product. Like, if you pull up my name, you'll see I've come in here like 50 times in the last 4 years before I even started Girlz
And I never
Ink.
ran into you into the lobby.
Never ran into you.
Yeah, every now and then I'll run into somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's but usually I don't run into any of the customers, and I have nothing to do with the store. Like, I don't know who buys from us, who doesn't buy from us. Kat runs the whole store, so I don't really have anything to do with that, and that's by design. I don't want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, who purchases from Girlz Ink, who doesn't. I know that's just not my. That's not where my I'm better off not knowing. I think it just keeps better relations with the industry and with artists and my students and whatnot. That's Yeah, it's not anything that I need to take notice of. But
Yeah.
well, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you took the jump and you're in.
Yeah.
And so you spent the first 5 years mastering ombre brows. You
Yes.
do ombre brows, and you do them just as good as anybody in the industry. Anybody, if not, you got to be one of the top. You're one of the top, I think. And like I said, I'm not just saying that, but I feel that about Michonne. Michonne's ombres are killer.
Yeah.
And you guys do them. You go at them very differently. But
Very.
yes.
Yeah.
But if you look at your ombre brows, you just did Ari's. They're absolutely stunning, right?
Yeah.
All your ombre brows are stunning. Michonne's are stunning. You go at them very differently, different needles, different movements, different techniques, which I think is beautiful.
And I do it differently every time.
And every time, depending on
The skin.
the skin,
My
and,
mood, what I feel like doing.
right?
If I want to freehand it, if I kind of want to stick to more of a symmetry method. There's so many ways to go about it that you can still pull off successfully.
Yeah.
And I think that's, should we get into this now?
So, yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? Because you talk about being an artist versus a technician.
Yeah.
And I do see, like, in the industry, sometimes people use the terminology artist. They refer to others as artists, and sometimes they refer to them as techs or technicians. And both terms have been around ever since I have been doing permanent makeup. I've seen both terms
Right.
my entire career. I'll tell you, I consider myself an artist and a craftsman, but I'm also very technical. I'm a manic thinker. I'm very strategic with every single. I'm like you. I
100%.
approach every face, depending on the skin type, what that client wants, what I'm trying to achieve, how it's tattooing, how it's not tattooing. I'm very strategic, which I think makes me very technical, but I am an artist. I like to be referred to as an artist. I think of myself as an artist, maybe more so even a craftsman. So in your opinion, what is the difference between an artist and a technician? Is there a difference? Is it potato? They mean the same thing to you, or it's different?
Absolutely two different things.
Two different things.
An artist, in my opinion, is, let's put it this way, with me, or anybody who is incredibly passionate about whatever medium they're putting into, I could do this for $10 an hour with no tip and be the happiest person ever.
Yeah.
Because this is my craft. This is something that I create.
Right.
And I feel like the difference with artists and technicians is, what we just touched on with having different ways of going about things.
Like versatility.
Yeah. And, you're kind of challenging yourself every day to maybe experiment a little bit, try something new, maybe try a new line. And I feel like more of with technician, there's one or two people that you maybe take a very short mentorship from or a certificate class. They show you one or two ways of how to do something. You practice and you practice, get a couple of good brows, and then, or any kind of form of permanent makeup or tattooing at all. And then you don't really challenge yourself anymore. And you're like, okay, well, I've gotten good. I don't need to practice anymore. I don't need to research anymore. And they just kind of stick with the same thing long term.
Yeah.
And just taking clients all the same way. They don't want to think about work or their art or anything once they're off the clock. They just treat it as, that's when they kind of treat it more as a 9 to 5. It's work. I, in the last 5 years, have never told my family or my friends or myself, I have to go to work today. I don't ever use that word.
Right.
And, it's a passion. And I feel like that's ultimately the biggest difference between an artist and a technician is just how much heart you have in it, how far you want to go into it, and how many different things do you want to challenge yourself with on a daily basis.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me too, it goes a little, for me, I think technician more means like a technician follows more of like a blueprint.
Right.
Like a blueprint for every single client.
Taking no risk on anything
Yeah,
either.
well, and I think maybe it's all they know.
Mm-hmm.
It's all they were taught. And I think this goes back to, like I always preach, versatility. Stay curious. Versatility. Learn. Yeah, okay, single needle face in a place, right? 5 shaders, 8 shaders, mags. I mean, learn all the needles. I think technicians for me is just, yeah, they follow a blueprint for every single face. They know one needle, maybe 2, maybe like a single, and then maybe like a 3.
Maybe.
A lot of them don't. A lot of them, just the single or just the 3. They use the same, 2 or 3 colors. They map every single person the same.
Yeah.
They don't maybe even freehand eyebrows. Maybe they can't even freehand. They use the string and every eyebrow. I think technician is more that. And not that that's a bad thing. And that doesn't work for some people and they're not producing good work. I don't think that structured brow, that blueprint brow looks good on a lot of clients.
It doesn't fit bone structure on a lot of people.
It does not fit bone structure on a lot of people. So I think that's the difference for me. And I think maybe technicians, the word tech, maybe they don't have that artistic gut, visceral, raw sense of things and that willingness to step out of their comfort zone and what they're more structured and they're more controlled, where artists are, like you said, we're just constantly experiencing and pushing ourselves. Doing lots of different shaped brows on all the different faces and lots. Yeah, and I don't and like I said, I don't think one's necessarily better than the other. I think it's just what works for each individual person per se.
Right.
Like everything else in this industry.
Yeah.
But so you consider yourself an artist.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is it offensive for you if someone calls you a tech?
I wouldn't necessarily say offensive. That's actually a good question. I never thought.
Yeah, I don't get offended.
No,
I don't think, I certainly don't think there was anything to be offended by. And at this point, I think it doesn't even really strike me like a certain way at all. I'm just so used to the term now.
Yeah.
But no, I don't see it offensive. But if someone asks me, are you an artist or a tech? I'm an artist.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I really do feel like artistry is really going to take, a comeback here in the next couple of years, and it's going to get the recognition that it deserves in this industry. I feel like a lot of the technician that's going on right now, and the people who, aren't really thinking about doing this long term, and they're kind of thinking more monetary, it's going to start diluting out.
Yeah.
Or they'll actually, start gaining a passion for it. And if they do, wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. So you started out single needle.
I did start out single
I think
needle.
all of us start out as a technician.
Oh, yeah.
Right? 100%. Because we're scared. We're afraid. And you end up doing what your trainer taught you.
Because trainers are scared to show anything else in the beginning.
Right. Trainers are, they're very, very conservative. And, and a lot of trainers, I think, they're nervous. They don't want to deal with, someone going too deep or this, that. So they make everything a little bit, I think they put their students maybe on training wheels. Maybe that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
And I'm not that kind of trainer. I don't start my students or apprentices on training wheels. Like I haven't float their needle out. I want them learning proper depth. I'm not into shading into the epidermis. I am so not into that trend at all. I'm into more traditional PMU where you implant pigment beyond the epidermis into that epidermal area.
Right.
And I want my students and my apprentices learning that right up front so their work is long lasting. Because when you think about it, what do clients want? We're going to talk about this on my next podcast, so I won't get into it too much, but they want their work to last a reasonable amount of time.
It's a big investment for it not to.
It's a big investment. And I don't think any client wants to really come, once a year. Especially with eyeliner. So when it comes to eyeliner, I'm definitely not into, single needle work and, the pixels and, that really soft, light implantation. That's not for me as an artist. I'm not putting it down. It's just not for me. And that's not what my clients want. My clients want black eyeliner, or black brown. They want it to last,
Right.
Okay, so you started on a single needle, but you do ombre. And you use what needle now in your career for ombre?
I like to use fives.
5 shaders.
For most.
Five shaders, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I typically outline with a 1 or a 3, just depending on the type of the skin. And then I'll go in with a 5 for pixelation. And I got to say, that's cut me back at least an hour and 15 minutes.
And you still take a long ass time.
Hey.
It was your birthday the other day, and we're waiting for you like an hour because I poke at all my friends that take 3 hours to do an eyebrow. I know you're an artist.
I'm an artist.
I know, and
I do as I please.
Yes, you do, and I want you to. But you've got like time on your age. You're like 20 something, so you got a long time. You have time to sit there for 3 or 4 hours and do an eyebrow. Where me, Ren. I'm a little bit older.
Your powder brow took a third of the time that mine took today.
Oh hell, girl, because I don't have the time anymore. It's like, yeah. So I've never. I think it comes down to personality. To be honest with you, I don't have the patience to sit there for 3 hours and do a powder brow when I know I can do a powder brow in 25 to 30 minutes with my 8 shader. And if I want ombre, oh girl, I can get ombre. I just dilute my pigment way down. And I can do the whole brow with an 8 shader, just dilution and get a really good ombre. Or, just switch to like a 3, for the bulb. When I, once I started getting my powder brows down to, 30 minutes, there's just no going back. I'm like, oh my God, I got all this free time. And you can fit more clients in a day.
Yeah.
Do you know? So,
I like it.
I know you like it.
It's
a lot of my friends that do PMU love it. They love it.
Piece. And today I took my time. And
so was
I
that
felt
5
great.
hours?
No, I took my time right on the dot. It was 3 hours and 7 minutes.
Oh my God, I killed myself. I would kill myself. I don't. Yeah, I was like, okay, I wouldn't kill myself. It's not. I'm being a little dramatic, but that's a lot. I can do an eyebrow, top and bottom eyeliner in like 2.5 hours. So I swear to God, and I'm not rushing. And I want to put out there, I'm not bragging. It's just showing the difference, I guess. Yeah.
You've been in this industry since the year I was born. Of course, it's going to take you that long.
Kill you. That deserves a swack. That deserves a swack. Yeah,
but you're an OG. Don't take it at that angle. I know. Genuinely like you are one of the most respected people in the industry, and you're gonna smack me over it.
I might smack you over. I still might smack you over it. Well, okay. So OG, I like that. I can vibe with that. The goat.
You're gonna be
the
faster
goat.
than anybody.
Yeah, they call me the goat sometimes. When they first called me the goat, I looked at Kat and I'm like, what the hell's a goat? What do you mean? What do you mean I'm a goat? Do I look like a goat? I had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I like the goat.
We all like the goat.
Yeah. So I poke. Look, I got a lot of friends that do beautiful ombre brows with the single, the 3, and they're taking 3 hours, and I just like to poke at them. But yeah, it's just that's just how I settled in to technique. I just settled in, and it might have had a lot to do with my body tattoo background. Right. Because once I got into body tattooing, they were kind of making fun of me of using small needles for an eyebrow. And it was Eddie and, everybody in the shop that got me into, the bigger needles, and eyebrows shouldn't really take 3 hours. It's this big. And they would say these things to me. And so when I was down at the tattoo shop, I took that to heart, and I really listened to them, and I started playing with bigger needles. That's when I started playing with dilution. Nobody in PMU was diluting pigments. Are you kidding me? That was
right.
Yeah, and so my career took a change because I was doing single needle, 3 liner brows. It was taking me 2.5, 3 hours. And I found nothing wrong with that. It's just the way it was.
Yeah.
And I was happy with my brow work. But it was the the experience at the tattoo shop. I spent almost 2 years down there, and exposure to the bigger needles, different movements, and then starting to apply that to my clientele, and just gradually and organically seeing my brow work with the bigger needles become better and better, more efficient, and become quicker. It was nothing that I planned. It was just really organic for me. And that's what I settled into, and that's my happy spot.
Right. Can I be transparent with you?
Sure.
You have shown me more in my experience at Girlz Ink than I have in the $30,000 I've spent with other technicians.
Are you serious?
Versatility wise, absolutely.
Well, when you were, I appreciate that, and that makes me feel good. Well, and I think, and it's not like I'm trying to fix your work, Ren. I mean, there's nothing I can do to fix your ombre brows. They are on point, and they are the bomb.
And they stay.
They do stay. So it's not like, showing you different but you had kind of one way of working, doing those ombre brows, and sometimes that's not as efficient, let's say, for really super oily skin, challenging skin. And you want to learn eyeliner. So and I'm not a fan of the whip shading movement for eyeliner work.
I can definitely see why. That looks terrifying to do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of people really do want black. They might want a smoky top, but in the lash line, they want black eyeliner.
You got to pack that thing in.
You got to pack it in there. And whip shading's not a packing movement. Doesn't pack in pigment. It implants very little pigment. In body tattooing, it's a blending movement. It's not even really used for, it implants, but that's not its purpose. Its purpose is for gradient work, blending, yellow into orange, orange into red, to get those beautiful gradients. The circular movement, shoveling, they call it shoveling in body tattooing. Those movements are for really getting a lot of pigment in the skin, getting that sticker look that, we want a lot for tattoos. And so I wanted to teach it. Well, I think that's why you came to Girlz Ink, to learn other ways not to walk away from what you're already doing, but to add to what you're already doing, to become more versatile and a more well-rounded artist.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy to me because I just look back even a year ago, and I don't know how I ever did anything without circles. And I only ever did circling for removals, or I would just use a little soft tap and do little circles.
Yeah.
But, it's just, I'm really appreciative now. We're starting to hit that shift in traditional tattooing. And I've noticed it with a lot of artists lately.
Yeah.
They want to go back to a little bit more of an old traditional
Because
style.
why? Their clients are complaining.
Yeah.
That the work is not staying.
I believe it.
And it's not lasting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got to be all about the client, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does. But you know what? I was going to say what's really interesting, but it is interesting, but it's also really kind of annoying to me. It frustrates me a little bit. Is that a lot of the young generation of artists, they consider the circular movement an old school, dated movement.
Because they relate it to a striking brow, and they can't wrap their heads around thinking that they can be able to be creative with that movement.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. They connect that to that solid sticker 80s, 90s looking eyebrow.
Right.
Yeah. And yeah, you can get that kind of eyebrow with lots of different movements.
You could do that with pendulum whip shading with a one-liner.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. But with the circular movement, man, you can get ombre super soft and powdery and, and so, so, I'm trying to discredit that myth and educate, the new generation of artists to be more open-minded
Yeah.
and look at the six core movements. Actually, now there's probably 7 core movements in our industry, because now our industry is moving into tiny tattoos, which incorporates a whole new movement, and that's traditional line work.
Yeah.
Right? Which we don't really do in PMU unless you do a one pull hair stroke, right? Then that's a little bit like traditional tattoo line work.
Yeah.
But I think it's important for us to learn all the movements: circular, shoveling, pointillism, whip shading, pendulum, all of them, and use them as needed, whichever one's going to give you the best result most efficiently. And have fun. It's fun using all the different movements.
It should be a tattoo.
Yeah.
It should not be a semi-permanent. It should be as much as it can. Of course, it is going to fade. Of course, it is going to oxidize over time in about 5-6 years. But we should be using the right techniques for it to be, worth $500, $600, $700.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100. Yeah, I agree. I mean, the less we have to tattoo the same area, the better, the healthier for the skin, right?
Right.
So it's all about the integrity of the skin as well. We don't know how often, tattooing like a pair of eyebrows once a year, same spot once a year, how many years will it take for that skin to start developing scar tissue or...
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, I don't know if anybody really has that answer. I mean, I don't. I'm not a doctor or anything like that. But I think about the integrity of the skin. I think, too, Ren, another misconception is I think a lot of artists feel that they're going to miss out on income. And I've seen a lot of artists state this, they're going to miss out on those refresh-free, those once-a-year fees, and they're going to, their clientele is going to drop. And I think it's just the opposite. I think it's insane to think like that. I think it's just the opposite. I built my reputation, and I think Girlz Ink as a whole built their reputation that our work lasts.
Yeah.
And that's how we got so damn busy. That's how I got booked out 8 months in advance. That's why I had to open up a studio.
Yeah.
And bring, Amber and Michonne under me, because I couldn't handle my clientele anymore. It was taking 8 months to get anybody in my book. And it was because my work lasted. My eyeliner lasts, 5, 7, 8, 9 years.
Wow.
My eyebrows, minimum 2.
Yeah.
I would say 2 to 5 years.
Everybody's super different. With
Yeah,
that
everybody's
area.
super different, right? Depends on their lifestyle, their health, sun, oil.
Right.
But word travels. One of my clients can be sitting at the salon and they're talking to, somebody that goes somewhere else, and she's saying, well, I have to go and get my eyeliner done once a year because it falls out. And then my client's like, are you kidding me? You should go see my girl. Yeah, her eyeliner lasts, 5 years. And then the client who has to go once a year is like, are you serious? Oh, let me have her name. I would hear that, like, that was the constant throughout my career, my building stages when I was building my clientele.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we as technicians should really be thinking in the client's shoes when it comes to how we conduct our art and our service. Because if you are really, and I'm a little baffled, like my jaw was to the floor when you just said that about how, some people like to have their repeat clients to come in.
Yeah, 100%. And I've seen them say it, just
Wow.
flat out say it, admit it. Like, it's just part of, it's how they think. It's how they earn their money. If the client's coming in once a year or once every year and a half, that's their refresh. That's their income.
Right.
Part of their income. They're afraid their income will drop.
I'm with you on thinking the opposite. I think that word of mouth of really have something that's going to stay, that's going to last with you forever. And that can stick with you even 5 years after you have your initial appointment with the client, if you do it right.
Yeah.
If you saturate it well enough. But I don't know.
I don't know. And I certainly don't think, our work should last, forever or too long, because that can be detrimental as well. We do want it to fade out of the skin.
Yeah.
To have the opportunity to
neutralize.
and to adjust the shape as a client ages or whatnot. So, So you're going to be, so you do padded brows, but I think I've been like on your dizzle to learn eyeliner.
You've whipped me into shape.
Yeah, because the way I look at it is the way I look at things, Ren. I look at you. I look at other artists out there in the industry, and the majority of artists do just brows, and nothing wrong with that. But if I'm looking at an artist and I'm like, God damn, those brows are beautiful, and every brow she does is beautiful. This is one hell of a brow artist, and that's how I feel about you. Then I feel like, why the hell is she not doing eyeliner?
Yeah.
They're doing brows that good. There's a darn good chance that if they learn eyeliner from the right trainer, right artist, they're going to do really good eyeliner. They're going to be good at eyeliner. Not only are they going to be good at eyeliner, they're going to enjoy doing eyeliner. I think if you learn it wrong, you can end up not liking eyeliner. It's around the eyeball, so it can be scary. It's more complicated. There's a little bit more into it. It's around the eyeball.
Yeah.
So, you know, clients blink and tear, and it's a little more uncomfortable. But I think if you learn it from the right trainer, you learn the do's and the don'ts, and you're that good at brows, I just think you're going to be that good at eyeliner, or there's a really good chance. Yeah. So you are going to be learning eyeliner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm ready for you.
Are you?
I'm ready for my model.
Yeah.
I've been ready.
Yeah. Well, I've got models. We put a model call out like 3 days ago, and I got about 30. Yes, I did. So I'm going through them right now. So we're going to be booking you some eyeliners. But in the meantime, your brow work is great, and you train.
I do train.
You do train. So let's talk about your training before we wrap things up. We've been talking almost an hour.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Feels like the last 5 minutes.
I
Honestly.
know.
Yeah.
So, but you're a trainer.
Yes. Ma'am.
And you've done trainings here. And, you know, your first training you did here, I was a little nervous.
I could tell.
Yeah, I was a little, was I micromanaging a little bit?
No, not at all. But every morning before I started my training, you gave me a good morning, Mr. President call, making sure everything was okay.
I did.
Yeah.
Y'all said, like a pep call, pep talk.
Yeah.
Making sure you were good and you didn't need anything from me and you're ready. Well, what I like about you is you're a lot like me and everybody here. You know, Michonne's, you know, we take our trainings super seriously. I think it's a huge responsibility to take someone's money. Our trainings aren't cheap. I don't think we gouge here at Girlz Ink at all. I think our pricing is really fair for the level of training and focus that they get from the artists here.
Yeah.
And it's a huge responsibility, and it's equally so a privilege. That's how I feel. If someone chose me to train them, I think it's a privilege. There's something about me that they found to their standard, they found comfortable to spend their money with me, get on a plane, money on a hotel.
It's an honor.
It's an honor.
Yeah.
And so I feel, you know, like the chosen, you know?
Right.
Because there's a lot of trainers out there. I mean, you know that. I mean, they're everywhere. There's a lot of choices for students. And yet, I've been doing this long, and I'm still inundated with training requests. I cannot take them all. I personally don't do one-on-ones anymore. But when they come into me, I pair them with the right artist here. I'll either pair them with you.
One-on-ones.
I know you love one-on-ones. And what I like about you as a trainer, and I didn't know you did this until you told me, but you follow up with your students. You do Zoom calls with them.
All the time.
Yeah,
All
and I
the
love
time.
that.
Yeah. So with me, I'm really bad with having that boundary of them not being my bestie. I want to get a hold of them all the time.
Yeah.
And because the thing is I don't ever want to slap a certificate on somebody's hand and say, okay, well, good luck on your journey. Nice knowing you.
Yeah.
This is the first couple of days to the rest of your journey, and I'm still here with you.
Yeah.
And there was a friend of mine, she's an artist, but she does lashes, and she told me one time, I wanted to find somebody to do a certificate class with that hates doing certificates, because that's how you know they're passionate about doing it.
Right.
And I mean in the sense of that, as opposed to just doing a long-term mentorship. And, you know, it has gotten a bad rep, these 2 or 3 day classes, but you really just need to find somebody that actually is passionate about a craft and you know, I've had a lot of students, even before I came into Girlz Ink and I was doing trainings at another location, I had a few girls fly in, and, you know, I'll always remember there was always just that one or a couple of things that I showed them, and they said, just you showing me that little thing was worth the $3,000 and the flight, you know?
Yeah.
And that just means the absolute world to me.
Yeah.
And whenever I learn something new, I always contact everybody when I learn something new. If I'm growing, you should be growing with me.
Yeah,
I
that's
feel like
fantastic.
that's worth the investment.
Yeah. Yeah. You're a hell of a trainer. I would, to all our listeners, you know, if you want to level up on your ombre brow, and you're not just ombre, you do classic powder. You use different techniques now, use different needles depending. You know your pigments.
I'm very versatile.
You're very versatile. I think you're really patient, and I think you're very detailed with your trainings, and you give a good hand. I think you're just, and you follow. I like that you follow up with them. I can't even say that I do Zoom calls with my students, but I do put them on a board, and you know I'm there for them. You know, for the rest of their lives, for cripe's sakes. You know, if you know, whenever they reach out, you know, I certainly respond. But you go that extra step and you actually do Zoom calls.
I care.
Yeah.
I care really much.
No, I know you do.
Because, you know, I've been in those shoes, and I've been in those shoes multiple times. And, you know, there was a time where when I was still really dealing with social anxiety, and I was shaking every time I was communicating with somebody I didn't know, and going through my trainings, you know, I wasn't taken serious. And I was another paycheck to those trainers, and you know, I'd always ask questions, you know, over text and follow up, and it was really hard. And so once I really got into my craft and I felt confident in my work, I wanted to be that trainer for those who, you know, who are really shy or have, you know, a little bit of anxiety with their craft. And I want to be there for them. And I don't want to say I'm better than any trainer, but I want to be really communicable, and I want to be there.
Well, I think there's a lot of people that feel like you, that have anxiety about their work, about work. You know, I think there's a lot that they're lacking confidence. I just got an email, you know, from someone in the UK. She's been doing this 8 years, and she's lacking confidence. 8 years in, she wants to come over to here to Girlz Ink and spend, you know, like 4 or 5 days, spend the week.
Awesome.
Yeah, and
amazing.
and she's 8 years in, and she's still feeling anxiety and a lack of confidence, and sometimes all it takes is for them to connect with the right trainer, the right human, the right artist, right?
Yeah.
For that to for their confidence to go up, for them to feel a whole lot more secure about their work. Honestly, I think it's just the right pairing. So I think there's a lot of people out there, Ren, that would definitely vibe with you, feel comfortable in your space. Not all trainers make students feel comfortable and warm, you know. I think they, you know, I think they do here. I'm super transparent, you know, about my anxiety and being a dork, and, you know, and I go through, you know, little periods of depression, and then I pull out of it, you know. So I'm like, I'm a manic thinker. I'm this, I'm that, you know, I'm a lot of.
I relate.
Yeah, I'm a handful. Poor cat. But she's like none of those, you know. So thank God I have Cat. You know, Cat's always like, I'm the gardener, you're the flower, which is really true. But I see that in you. I see you get a little anxiety, and you know, a little this, little that. But you're a great artist, and you know, my hope for you is your time here, your confidence goes up, your anxiety with social media starts to plateau. And you know, and whatever you're not feeling confident in, wherever your anxiety starts to pick up, you know, in your work and in your career, I'm hoping your time here, and I'm pretty confident your time here will.
I am so.
Yeah,
You
I'm
can't
super.
get rid of me.
Yeah, I think that you have a wonderful career ahead of you. Here and wherever your path takes you. Hopefully your path keeps you here for a long time.
Yeah.
Hint, hint.
Selfishly enough, I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else that you would like to say to the listeners? Look, let them check out your Instagram. Your Instagram
Yeah.
is, you got
So-
two. One's dead.
Yeah, one got hacked.
Okay.
Just like Michonne's.
Just like Michonne. So where can our listeners go
Yeah.
look at your Instagram?
So my Instagram is Ren Taylor Ink. And the last thing I am going to say is my final is permanent makeup genuinely saved my life.
Yeah.
I love this industry.
Yeah.
And I hope that as many people have any questions, they ever want any help, even if they don't have $3,000 to take a training with me, if they even have simple questions, I don't want to ever gatekeep. I just want to be there for my community. And I know things get hard sometimes with everybody's craft, but I am living proof it gets better.
Yeah.
If you stick on, and 5 years is truly the awkward phase. Once
Yeah.
you get out of it,
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
So I think what you're alluding to, and we didn't have time to get into this podcast, but we'll have you back on.
Yeah.
And I think that would be an interesting podcast. Is you have a past,
Mm-hmm.
you have a history, you have a background that maybe was a little dark, maybe a little not healthy, maybe right?
Yeah.
And so do I. And permanent makeup, I think anybody that's known me, I've been saying it for years, it literally saved my life. I really believe that with all my heart. I don't know if I'd be here today if I didn't find permanent makeup, because I was in a place where it was very dark. I had no purpose. At least that's what I felt. I was of service to no one or nothing. That's how I felt.
Right.
And I was horribly depressed, and not doing much with my life, and not doing anything good for myself. And I found permanent makeup, and it made me feel like I finally had a purpose and something I could be of service to other people. And you have a similar, maybe different, but similar. And permanent makeup saved your life. So we will get into that on the next because I don't even know your whole background, so it'll be interesting. Yeah. But I think, and a lot of people will probably be able to relate. So Ren Taylor Ink, that's where they can check out your Instagram. You are here, any of our clients listening, you want kick-ass powder brows, ombre brows.
Soon to be eyeliner.
Yeah, girlzink.com. You can book your appointment with Ren, and just email us. info@Girlz Ink if you're interested in training with Ren. That's where they can find you, right here. Well, no. Yeah. Good?
Yeah.
We good. All right. Okay. So, hey, everybody, thank you for joining us on this episode of Tatter-a-fact. It was great, Ren. I appreciate you being here.
I had fun.
All right. And remember, everybody, stay in the pursuit of happiness, and we will see you next time.